So the Warzone Pacific and Caldera update will be dropping later on today, and it will be introducing 40 brand new weapons from Vanguard into Warzone. But in this video, we want to be going over what are the 5 best Cold War weapons you can be using inside the Pacific update, because not everyone has access to Vanguard at the moment to try and level up weapons. So which guns can you use inside Warzone that you have at the moment that will still do really well inside the Pacific update? If you enjoy weapon stat breakdowns, weapon comparisons, and overall tips and tricks for Warzone, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we're trying to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers, and click that link in the description and subscribe to our second channel. We will be posting extra content over there as well. But let's get on into the list. At number 5, we have the MAC-10. The MAC-10's always really been a solid SMG, and the reason for it is because the iron sights are clean, the movement's good, the recoil's relatively easy to control as well. And at the start of the integration for Cold War, this gun was super overpowered. Then there was a blueprint that was overpowered for a bit. Then it both kind of got nerfed. And now we're with the MAC-10 that we have right now. And it's still a solid SMG inside this game, and I highly recommend still using it, and it will still perform extremely well inside the Vanguard update, and the movement mechanics on Cold War guns are still some of the best. When it comes to the build for the MAC-10, I do use the standard sound suppressor, and that's for the bonus to sprint to fire as well as your faster aim down sight time. This gun overall, when it comes to recoil, is relatively easy to manage anyway at those kind of close to medium ranges, so you don't really need the benefits of recoil control or the benefits to the damage range when it comes to an SMG like this. So personally, I just like the faster movement speeds that you get with the sound suppressor. For the barrel, you do want to use a task force barrel. This is going to give you the best strafing speeds, which are really important when you're in those close range gunfights. It also gives you bullet velocity as well, which again, super important. Then for the magazine attachment, I do go for the Stanag 53 round drum. This is the best magazine attachment for the MAC-10, and it's been like this for a while now, so there's nothing to really change here. Then for the stock attachment, I do like the Raider stock. It gives you a faster sprint to fire time, which is really useful when it comes to hip firing or just moving about in general. It also gives you faster strafing speeds, which is really important. So like I said, the Raider stock is super important. The last attachment is kind of personal preference here. You could go for the Tiger Team Spotlight. This is going to help with your overall movement speed. You could also go for the Serpent Wrap, which is what I personally use for the faster aim down sight time. And you can also go for the Bruiser Grip as well. This is going to give you better hip fire accuracy and better movement speeds. Personally, when it comes to the Tiger Team Spotlight or the Bruiser Grip, I do think the Bruiser Grip now is the best. And the reason why is because the Tiger Team Spotlight did get a bit of a nerf back in the most previous update. But in terms of what I like to use the Serpent Wrap. And I do think this is the best build for the MAC-10 overall. And like I said, this is a super solid close range and medium range SMG. At number 4, we have the Cold War AK-47, and the Cold War AK is an absolute solid assault rifle that is inside the Cold War weapons list at the moment. I do think it's one of the more easier ones to use, but also hits really hard as well. So definitely going to be still a meta weapon when it comes to the Vanguard integration. So for the muzzle, you do want to use the GRU suppressor for the sound suppression, recoil control, bullet velocity, and damage range. We are building this weapon mainly for long range here. You can make a sniper support build for the Cold War AK, but like I said, I like to use this for long range. Then for the barrel, you do want to use the Spetsnaz RPK barrel. This is going to help the best when it comes to recoil control, and it also gives you that bullet velocity as well, and that is what you need when you're talking about long range rifles like this. Under barrel, you do want to use the Spetsnaz grip. This is going to control the recoil as best as possible when it comes to using this gun at long range, like I said. For the magazine, you can go for the Bakelite 60 round, but I don't really think you need that big of a mag when it comes to the Cold War AK. I'd rather go for the 45 round mags, and it's not going to con your ADS nearly as much. So the 45 round mags is what I like to use. And then when it comes to the optic, the Axial 3x optic is basically the equivalent of the VLK. And like I said, this is going to be a super solid long range build when it comes to the Cold War AK-47. Relatively easy to control recoil, hits really hard as well, and like I said, it will still be meta when the Vanguard integration takes place. At number 3, we have the best AR in the game right now, which is the EM2, and for that reason alone, it will still be a really solid weapon when that Vanguard Pacific integration takes place. So I do think the EM2 is still going to be super solid even after all that, and it's probably going to be the gun everyone's still using before they figure out what the new meta is going to be. It is a little bit harder to use in the Cold War AK when it comes to recoil, but it definitely hits a little bit harder as well, so that's something you do need to keep in mind. But when it comes to the build, you want to use the agency suppressor for the sound suppression and the bullet velocity. You also get recoil control benefits as well. The underbarrel, again, you want to use the field agent foregrip. This is going to help with the recoil as best as possible. For the barrel, the task force barrel is the one you want to be using. And this is going to help with the bullet velocity, the recoil control, the damage range, all that good stuff. It will slow you down a little bit. And that is why I have changed the build slightly to use the 40 round mags and not the 50 round mags. I do think the 50 round just slows your ADS down a little bit too much in my opinion. And considering all the Vanguard weapons will have 10 attachments now, you're likely to be a lot slower than some of those weapons. So I would rather go for the 40 round mag in this case. 40 rounds should be more than enough to take out multiple enemies with this gun. The optic, you do want to use the axial 3x optic once again. The base standard optic is not the best on this gun. So you do want to be using the axial 3x, and like I said, the EM2 will still be a meta weapon even after this integration, and probably even long after that integration as well. So at number 1 and at number 2, we're on Warzone ranked right now, and we can see that number 2 is the OTS-9 and number 1 is the Swiss. This is the number 1 and 2 picked weapons in the entire game right now. Pretty much everyone is running an OTS-9 or a Swiss, and it doesn't really matter what their secondary weapon is, or they could be running these two weapons together, in fact, because they actually make the perfect loadout, because the OTS-9 is the best SMG and the Swiss is the best sniper in the game right now. So let's get on into the build for the OTS. Now again, I've slightly changed the build. I do use the sound suppressor, and again, that's for the movement speed bonuses. I do feel like we'll need this as well when it comes to that Vanguard integration. With the Vanguard weapons having like 10 attachments, you can build those specifically to what you're looking for. I do think every benefit you can take out of Cold War and Modern Warfare weapons, you need to take it. So definitely go for the sound suppressor. It's going to give you faster sprint to fire and a faster ADS time. Then for the barrel, again, the task force barrel is the best when it comes to SMGs. For Cold War, it's going to give you that strafe speed, it's going to give you the bullet velocity, it's also going to give you damage range as well. Then for the magazine attachment, you do want to go for the VDV 40 round fast mags. Even though it did get a bit of a nerf, it's still the best magazine attachment compared to the Spetsnaz 40 round. So you do want to use the VDV mags here. After this, personally, I still use the skeletal stock, and this is going to give you the faster strafing speeds. I do think this is really important to winning a lot of those close range gunfights. And the main reason why I win a lot of my gunfights as well, in my opinion, is because I still use these faster strafing stock attachments. It's going to give you a faster sprint to fire as well, which is going to help out a little bit with your hip fire, allowing you to hip fire quicker. It does con your hip fire accuracy overall though, so definitely keep that in mind. But like I said, I do still think this is one of the best attachments to use on the OTS. Then personally, I like to use the Serpent Wrap once again. But you can also swap the Serpent Wrap out for the Bruiser Grip, which I do think is the second best attachment here. So that's going to come down to personal preference, but either the Serpent Wrap or the Bruiser Grip, both are solid options. Definitely give this OTS-9 a build a go. This is definitely going to still be a meta SMG. I feel like people will still be using this SMG, even though they've used the Vanguard ones. They might not even enjoy it because this gun is super amazing right now. Last but not least, we have the Swiss, and we all kind of know the build for the Swiss by now. So you want to use the GRU suppressor for the sound suppression, the recoil control, and the damage range. It's mainly for the sound suppression and the damage range, let's be honest, and the bullet velocity. Then for the barrel, combat recon is going to give you the best bullet velocity when it comes to any Cold War sniper, not just the Swiss, so you want to make sure you go for that. Laser, you want to go for the 5mm laser. This is basically the tac laser for Cold War weapons. We should all know this by now anyway. Optic, you want to leave as the standard optic. Then you do want to go for the Serpent Wrap for the faster aim down sight time. You could also go for the Airborne Elastic Wrap as well. Both are solid options. The Airborne Elastic will help with your flinch resistance, whereas the Serpent Wrap will give you a slightly faster ADS. And then lastly, I like to actually go for the Bruiser Grip for the aiming stability and the movement speed. I do think this is a solid attachment when you're using the Swiss. You want to be able to move really quickly, get your snipes off, but also on top of that, you want to be able to get your shots very precise as well. So having that aiming stability there is going to be really important. And this is the best build for the Swiss in my opinion, and for most people's opinion on Warzone ranked as well. But like I said, this is going to be the best sniper in the game still. I don't really see any of the Vanguard snipers doing that well, especially after trying them out inside Vanguard's multiplayer. They don't really feel all that great. They feel quite slow in my opinion. but maybe they change the stats on those snipers. We'll just need to wait and see. But until then, the Swiss is definitely going to be the best sniper in the game, and I do still think the car and the Swiss will be at the top of the meta for a while. So if you do have either one of those two weapons, you could definitely still use it and do extremely well. But if you enjoyed this video and learned something new, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and help us reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers, and click the link in the description and subscribe to our second channel. And thank you very much for watching.